Okay, so I've literally spent like the last 10 minutes talking about how I feel and emotions and stuff on camera because today's supposed to be my filming day, and as of yet I've not felt fuck all because I've spent the last 10 minutes talking about my insecurities. And I don't know, I just feel like at the minute I'm struggling to come to terms with the fact that I'm not like everybody else. I don't think like everybody else. My content won't be like everybody else's. And is that good enough? Is that content going to be good enough for people to gravitate towards? It's so stupid because I try to be perfect with every single thing that I do. Literally every single thing that I do. Like, I've been in every room in this house trying to figure out what the best room is for the best lighting, for the best angle, for the best setup. Because all I do is look at other people's content, and it's pure comparison. I look at someone who's doing well, and I think, right, they've got the perfect setup. I need to have that perfect setup, and I've always been like that. And what I have to understand and have to realize is that the longer I sit here trying to be perfect, trying to come up with these perfect scenarios, perfect clothing, perfect backdrop, perfect setup, the less time I'm actually spending talking to a camera, trying to help people. And so this right now is not scripted, it's not, none of this was set up. I've been for a walk, I've come back, I've put on the camera, and I'm filming because I feel like I've got to try and do this to break out of this idealistic image that I'm painting in my head. And it's funny because I'd never been this way. Like, before, I just would get on camera and video stuff. And the crazy thing is I do this. In the morning on Instagram, you all know, everyone sees me. I do it most days. I'm talking to the camera. Whether it's because I can see myself back, I don't know. Maybe it is. And so looking into a camera and not being able to see myself back talking is the disturbing thing that stops me from filming. I don't know. But I feel like I have to be perfect. Like, I can't look at my Mac to get notes to then come back to the camera and talk. It all has to be done in one reel. And I can't take my eyes off the camera because people will know that I'm looking at stuff that's not coming from the top of my head. Whereas that's not anyone else's issue, it's mine. And it's the standards that I hold myself to on a daily basis, which a big part of that has come from working in a city where the standards were that high and you couldn't make a mistake. Mistakes were punishable, and quite heavily punishable. Not by your boss. Well, I mean, it would be by your boss, but when you're trading in the stock market and you're trading in commodity markets, you make a mistake, you take your eye off the ball, you get up and go somewhere and do something that seems so small or ominous, something that's really not important, and if the market moves against you, you get penalised heavily. Then you get penalised heavily by your bosses, and then you get penalised heavily by their bosses. So there's this constant daily thought of don't make a mistake, don't make a mistake, don't make a mistake, don't make a mistake. And everything you do is based around not making a mistake. And then I moved into bodybuilding, and that's exactly the same. Everything you do is to go up on stage and be perfect. Perfect lighting, perfect tan, perfect symmetry, perfect posing, perfect smiling, perfect stage presence. And so everything I was doing, even in the gym, perfect reps, perfect sets. wearing the perfect clothing to show off the perfect shapes. You know, now I look back, now I'm doing a lot of soul searching and realising who I am as an individual. I'm realising that a lot of the reason why I am how I am is because there was this narrative of being perfect, being driven into my head constantly every day. And then even if I go back as far as football, training drills, perfect. You make a mistake, the coach would blow the whistle, it'd go back to the beginning. It was shit, do it again. It was shit, do it again. It was shit, do it again. So as much as I feel like the perfectness of me is me, you know, I think I'm starting to realise that a lot of this perfectionism that I have as a part of my personality probably wasn't there to start off with. Yeah, I'm ambitious, and yeah, I'm strong-minded. I spoke to my parents about that, and they were like, no, Grant, you've been like this since you was 2. So the strong-mindedness and the ambition, I've always had that, the drive. But I feel like I've got into a kind of a state where everything has to be perfect. And maybe that is a reflection of the way social media is and the way the world is. Maybe that is a reflection of how the world is, because everyone does seem so perfect. And as much as I feel like it's not affecting me because I'm me and I'm Grant, maybe subconsciously it has been affecting me, because every time you pick up your phone and look at your phone, it's not really about having the perfect body anymore. As much as that is still a massive part of social media, everything is perfect now. Perfectly edited text, perfectly edited videos. You see people's reels, they're perfectly timed with the perfect music, the perfect images, you know, the perfect subtitles, the perfect contrast in colours, the perfect design, the perfect logo, the perfect caption. To throw into the mix, the perfect body, the perfect abs, the perfect bum, the perfect boobs, the perfect smile. And I guess if, you know, subconsciously looking at these things on a daily basis, although I don't really pay too much attention to it, maybe I do pay attention to it, because I've always said that I'm a little bit of a contradiction. So on one hand, I couldn't give a fuck what anyone thinks about me. But on the other hand, I do. And I am asking, yeah, I couldn't give a fuck what they think. But did they say anything about me? I kind of find myself in that position where I don't care what content I put out, but I want to know if people like it. And whether that's an acceptance thing, whether that's a perception thing, I'm not sure. What I do know is that I've got to start getting myself in front of the camera and talking, because I can do this face to face, which is where most people struggle. Most people actually struggle talking to people face to face. And I don't have that issue. Like, I could stand in front of a room and talk to thousands of people. It's not a problem for me. Like, I can step on stage, half naked, in a pair of posing trunks, purple posing trunks, with speckles on, and diamantes on, in front of men, women and children, pose, and be fine, but can't sit down and talk to people in front of a camera. I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that when you're on stage, people can't really bash you or call you out. You only really care what the judges think, and there's only 4 judges. And even that, subconsciously, is quite fucked up, because you're standing on stage being judged by people who know nothing about you and are solely judging you in a subjective manner. So I guess if you spend 10 years training your body to be judged by somebody subjectively and to be told that you're not good enough, come back and try again. No matter how strong-minded or ambitious or determined you are, eventually that will start to have an effect. Maybe that's where this perfectionism's come from. where every day I was in the gym trying to be the best, trying to be the best, trying to be the best. So now I come into this field, and it's, to be honest, it's any area that I'm in, whether it's gaming, whether it's golf. I'm trying to be this guy who's the best. I know that my key, my sort of genius zone of genius is talking to people and educating people and making people see things a different way and thinking about themselves in a different way. And maybe that's where I've gone wrong. Well, not gone wrong, but maybe that's where I've sort of got lost in translation, is that I'm so focused on helping other people change their mind frame, their state of mind, their sense of self, how they physically look, how they physically feel, that I've forgotten about me. Or not forgotten about me, but not really been paying attention enough to the things that have happened in my past that are affecting my future. Because essentially it's okay to say, forget the past, but the whole point of the past is that you leave it behind, not bring it with you. And I've been bringing my past with me. So it's okay to say forget the past. But if it's still dragging with you, if you're still dragging your past into your present, it's always going to be a part of your future. It's not as simple as just saying, forget your past. And I realise that now. I realise that it's not as simple as just cutting your past off. And this is the problem. This is all I've done in my life, is just cut my past off and try and move on. And I realise now that it's not that simple. It's not as and it's not as easy as just cutting something off and moving on. I mean, it is, but emotionally, you're still tied to that. And I don't think there are many people that can go through something traumatic, cut it off and move on and not have that experience affect them in some way. Maybe psychopaths. But then maybe that's why they're psychopaths. Because they can just... Now, for the longest time, I've told myself, and I've told others, I have an emotional switch. I can just shut my emotions off. And for the longest time, I have done that. I have literally, if someone's done me wrong or a situation has arisen where it's not gone in my favour, or there's been an altercation or confrontation or whatever, do you know what? Fuck you. Fuck this. Cut. I'm done. And I move on. And that's me telling myself I've got an emotional switch. Now, I don't know if that's an emotional switch. Maybe it's just burying it and pretending it never happened and moving on. When in actual fact, it did happen. You didn't sort it out. It's still there. It's still chipping away at you. And whether or not 5 years, 10 years, 15 years moves on, unless you go back and sort it out, or at least forgive yourself or come to some sort of peace with what happened and move on from it, it's always going to be there. And this is what I've realised over the last month, is it doesn't matter how much I talk to people face to face, I can't help everybody face to face. I'm going to have to sit in front of a camera, talk to the camera, video myself, and put my thoughts and my process across if I am to help people. Because I genuinely believe that this is my zone of genius, is being able to talk to people and make them understand. It's just when it comes to myself, it's like I can help everyone else, but I get in my own way. And it's a mad thing to think when you think about, I can do an Instagram story, fine. I can stand up on stage, fine. But when it comes to talking into a camera about stuff that I'm passionate about, I find it hard. I think in a world where people tell people to be their authentic self, they're saying that, not being authentic. And I feel like because I can see that, like, I'd love to call people out on their bullshit. Because but then the question in my head is that me? Is that really Grant? Is Grant really a character who goes around calling people out on their bullshit? Or is that just the fact that I spent so long in a lifestyle where you had to be called out on your bullshit? Because if you wasn't, that would have a knock-on effect. Do I really care enough to call someone else out on their bullshit if it's nothing to do with me? Not really, to be honest. Because what I've realised is I'm actually quite lazy as an individual. Like, I don't care. Like, I could happily sit and do fuck all day. Like, I could. And, you know, even with my coaching style, I felt like a lot of the reason why I got into coaching is because I thought it was going to be easy, the easier way. Yeah, I'm passionate about helping people, but at the same time, it was like, writing programs, yeah, I can fucking do that. That's easy. I can write a program. I've been writing programs for myself for years. What I didn't realise was the strength was the communication. I'm a good communicator. I can talk to people. I can encourage people. I can motivate people. Whether that is because I can motivate myself and I'm strong-minded, I don't know. And then as I've grown into the role and grown into an older person and an older man and gained more knowledge and gained more experience, the coaching role has become something that I have realised that I'm passionately good at. Like, not everybody knows what they're good at. And we are all good at something. It's just whether or not we have trained long enough to realise it. I realise that I'm good at talking to people. You know, as hard as I find it to video myself on camera, I know that I can talk to people. I know that when I talk to people, people listen. I know this. I know that I think different. I know that my views and analogies and examples are different. I know how to take complicated scenarios and simplify them and make them make sense. I know that I'm good at doing that. And that is why I feel like my coaching style is different. Because I'm genuinely trying to just be me and not copy someone else's perfect plan, which then lends itself back to, well, then why are you trying to be perfect on camera? And this is the question, this is the battle that I'm struggling to have with myself. You know, I always say I need a cameraman with me everywhere to video me. Because this is the type of thing that I could sit down and do all day long if there was a table of 5 people in front of me. Talk. Help. But when it comes to myself and trying to talk to a camera and help other people, it's like I've got this perfect vision in my head that I've got to have this there and I've got to have that there, and if that's not there, then that's not going to work. And literally yesterday I spent half an hour downstairs with Hannah trying to find the perfect lighting, and she's telling me it's fine, the lighting, Grant, is fine. No, it's not. Maybe I've got to move that off there and put, like, I'm looking at things, and if I'm not happy with how they look, I'm not happy doing it. And I don't know what that's called. But I feel like that's the part of me that I have to break. That's the part. Because we're all in a cycle. And if, you know, I spoke about this yesterday. If we are in a cycle of repeating the same thing, there has to come a point where you break that cycle. And I feel like I'm at that point now where I've got to break that cycle of not trying to be perfect with every single thing that I do. Because it's that perfection and that that self-conscious thought that it's not going to be good enough if I put it out there for people to see because it doesn't have this in the background, or that's in the way, or I don't look like this, or I've got a bit of dry skin hanging off the end of my nose, or my dreads don't look right, or my chain's not hanging out trying to find all these perfect things that make something look more aesthetically pleasing rather than just focusing on what's coming out of my mouth. That's the battle for me. That's what I'm really struggling with. And I know that's what I've got to work on. Like, this whole week was planned around videoing content. Like, it's crazy because Hannah's gone to work today. I'm in the house all on my own. I can sit here and do this quite confidently. I can feel myself growing in the video, the confidence growing in the video, and Hannah's not here. Why do I care if Hannah's here or not? Hannah's here to support me. All that girl has done is support me. Yet I'm so paranoid and conscious that she's sitting there listening to me thinking, what the fuck's he talking about? When she's not at all. So maybe that is an insecurity that I have. As much as I don't care what people think, I actually really, really do. I guess I realise that, so that's the good thing, is I'm aware. Maybe it's ego. Maybe it's a little part of my ego still fighting, holding on, because it's only ego that cares about what other people think. That's all. So yeah, this is I have to try and realise that talking like this is good enough. The tone of my voice doesn't have to change. How I look doesn't have to change. My mannerisms don't have to change. This is Grant. This is me. This is what I do. This is how I talk. And whether or not people like it or not, that's not really the issue. The point is that what I'm trying to get across makes sense enough for it to be able to help you in your life. That for me is the bigger picture. I have to understand that fact, that this is not really about me anymore. This is not really about me sitting here filming, perfect lighting, perfect angle, perfect this, perfect blah, 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 blah. This is about me getting on camera to try and help people. This is about me putting out content trying to help people. It's not about Grant anymore. And as much as I think it is about Grant, it really isn't. And maybe that's where I'm struggling, because I think this is about me. I think this is about how Grant looks on camera, how Grant sounds on camera. It's nothing to do with none of that. It's about, is what I'm saying helping people? And that's something that I feel like isn't really happening at the minute in the world. Social media, people are pretending to be on social media helping people, but they're not really helping anyone. Like, I don't see many people teaching people or giving people real help. It's funny, it's light-hearted, it's relatable, but it's not teaching anyone anything. And I think that's my passion. My passion is in really trying to teach people how to change their lives for the better, to be positive, to understand that you as an individual can do whatever you want to do. For the longest time, I thought that if I could do it, you could do it. I realise now that that's not necessarily the case, because how I think is completely different. There are things that I've done in my life and I look back now and I don't really understand how the fuck I did it. For example, my first bodybuilding show, I was homeless. People don't realise this. I was homeless. I did not have a registered address. I had a massive argument with my mum and my sister, moved out of my mum's house, all in the heat of the moment, put my shit in the car, fucking slept in my car for 2 weeks. No one knew nothing. Posting like I was normal. And then, luckily, a friend of mine put me up in a back room in her office. And I stayed in there for about a year. It was about 10 months. But all the way through that, I was prepping for a show. I had no hot water. I had no real kitchen. I had no oven. I had no heating. The room had no windows. I was sleeping on a used bed. I had one wardrobe, a mirror. I had a little microwave in my room. I had one of those little electric heaters in the room. In the summer, the room was 500 degrees. In the winter, it was minus 500. All the while, I was prepping for a show, turning up to training every day, doing my cardio every day, eating my food every day, never missing a meal, training clients. I don't know how I did that. And in my head, I'm trying to motivate people, thinking that if I can do that, you can do that. Now I realise that a lot of people would have cracked. A lot of people would have quit. A lot of people would have said, fuck this. Or done something to take themselves out of that situation, which meant going back on how they felt. Some people would have just asked for help, got the help, and been okay. But because my ego was in the way, because there was too much pride in the way, I didn't want to do that, because it'd be like me going back on my word and accepting that I was wrong, or being a failure. It was more a case of, well, at least I made this choice and it was my choice to make, and I can get myself out of it. And that was honestly the motivation, was that I'm at rock bottom. Let's see if I can get myself out of this. Let's see if I can use this as a motivation. And to be honest, the bodybuilding prep probably kept me focused off of everything that was going on. I was going to Pure Gym to use the showers because I didn't have hot water. But this is only like 3 years ago. 2018, I think it was. What are we now? 2022. So 4 years. And you see me now, having not known any of that. But in my head, I feel like, well, yeah, anyone would have got through that. If anyone was in my situation, they would have got through it just like I did. But I realise now that that's not the case. Because how my mind is hardwired is different. I understand how I think now, and how I view things is different. So much so that I now understand why people struggle with simple tasks when it comes to nutrition and training. Because they're not simple. That's the area that I want to try and help people with, is because I now realise that these simple tasks that are everyday tasks aren't small tasks. For most people, they're big tasks. For me, drinking 4 litres of water was not an issue. For me, cooking food and prepping food at 7 o'clock in the morning was not an issue. For me, getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and going for a walk for 45 minutes was not an issue. It wasn't an issue because I'm a hyper-focused individual who can lock his mind in and put his mind to anything he wants to do. I genuinely thought that everybody had that same mindset. Now I realise that people don't. Now I can understand why drinking 1 litre of water is hard. Why cooking breakfast or preparing breakfast or even eating breakfast is hard. Why getting up and doing exercise is hard. Even thinking about doing exercise is hard. I understand why all these things are hard now. Because not everybody thinks the same way. And my thing is it's not that people don't think the same way. It's just that people haven't been educated the right way, or educated enough to understand what to do to enable them to get those things done easier. Because anything's too big of a task if you don't know how to accomplish it. Putting an IKEA flat pack together is a task if you've got no instructions. And so, if you've never made a proper breakfast before, I could never understand why I'd work in David Lloyd and people would come up to me and I'd do their inductions, and one of the first questions on the induction form was, have you ever used gym equipment or a treadmill before? and the amount of people that would say no, and I instantly in my head, it probably came across on my face as well, but I'd be like, what? You've never used a fucking treadmill before? Everybody's used a treadmill before. And even the more people that came up to me and said no, it still never clicked in my head that, no, Grant, not everyone's used a treadmill, mate. Just because you've used one religiously for the last 5 years, because you've been so hyper-focused on this goal that you're chasing, doesn't mean everyone else has. But I was so in my own head that I thought everybody was seeing things the same way as I was. Now I realise that not everybody sees things the same way that I do. So now I can understand that if somebody as a client comes to me and says to me, I've never had porridge in the morning before, I can accept that and not have this, are you fucking kidding me, attitude. Because that's what I felt like I've had for the longest time. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you serious? Are you taking a piss? When it's not any of that. It's just that the education and the awareness and the understanding of how to get your body in the right shape and how to get your mind in the right shape, there's a massive gap that people are missing. And I realise that it's my job now to teach people all the things that help people get to this place. That for sure I am 100% aware of. It's just allowing myself to come onto camera and talk about it.